Welcome. I want to talk a little bit about what I expect from this 2026 World Cup. Uh, who will win the World Cup? I think the whoever ends up winning, it'll be one of the same teams that have won it before, with the exception of Uruguay, who's maybe not as strong as the other candidates. If there were to be a new champion, my guess is that it would most likely come from Netherlands, Portugal, or Belgium. Some of those may not be candidates for this World Cup, but I think that in the near future, a new champion would be one of those three. Uh, will Mexico win the World Cup? Um, I don't think so. The reason is that if you look at the four teams from the semifinalists from the previous World Cup, those are Argentina, France, Croatia, and Morocco. And much of their squad, uh, those players came from or were playing in the important leagues in Western Europe, those being England, Spain, Germany, Italy, and France. If we look at the 2018 World Cup semifinalists, um, France, Croatia, Belgium, and England, you would find the same thing in their rosters. Many of their players are in those same leagues in Western Europe. So when you look at the Mexican squad, almost all of them are playing in the Mexican League, with a few of them playing in Europe. That may not be enough, especially once you get into quarterfinals and semifinals. Um, and they do. Mexico sometimes does very well in the early stages. They did defeat, for example, Germany in 2018, France in 2010. But consistently, once they get into the round of 16, they are knocked out, or previously they were knocked out up until 2022. And you see that trend with many other teams. I think what happens is that let's say a France. A lot of their players are in the important leagues, and so once you get into that fourth, fifth, sixth game, fatigue starts to kick in. Your bench becomes important, and that's probably what makes the difference, and that might be why we don't see teams such as a Mexico, such as a Colombia, get into those rounds. I think that the present of soccer, other than being one of those teams that has players in the being exported into the top leagues, is the diaspora. So, for example, Morocco, a lot of their players were born in Europe, and if we look at the North American qualifier, let's say there was I forget what group it was: Costa Rica, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Haiti. And the favorites were thought to be Costa Rica and Honduras, but they depended a lot on their local players, whereas Haiti, a lot of those players were either born in France or they had been exported to play in France. Same thing with Suriname, who did not end up qualifying, but were able to get more points in their group than, say, Guatemala or El Salvador. Let's see. Another thing to expect is that when I listen to other people predicting what might happen at this World Cup, is that I see a lot of a lot of them underestimate North American teams, and I think that home advantage is an important factor, and maybe it's something that's not being taken into account in those predictions. Um, while North America is not the strongest confederation, I still think that that home advantage will take effect. With Curacao, I don't expect that they'll get out of the group, but I do think that there'll be moments where they do compete competently. I don't know if that's redundant. With Haiti, the same thing. Unfortunately for both of those teams, their group is very tough. Although I do think that if Haiti beats Scotland, it would not be as unexpected as if, say, Curacao beats Ecuador or even or Germany. Panama similarly gets a very tough group. But they'll be able to do, I think, far better than what they did in 2018. And then same thing with Canada. They'll do better than they did in 2022. And we'll see how far USA and Mexico get. Another thing that I see a lot in other predictions is that there's a lot of attention given to friendly games, and even though friendly games do leave you with some conclusions, I think that at the end of the day they are friendly games, and the teams are trying things out more so than trying to win games. I think what more reliable is, say, for example, qualifier games or tournament games such as the Asian Cup, the Euro, Copa America, the Gold Cup. I'm very excited to watch as many games as possible, and I hope that I can I hope that I can provide a little bit of guidance if you're not as familiar with what the World Cup is like.